Hello, everyone. How are you? Today, I think we're having already great time, and we already started chatting with Scott. But first of all, we'd like to welcome you to another GoDaddy Pro EMEA meetup with an interesting topic called Pods Framework. To learn more about GoDaddy Pro, please check out the link in the chat. Feel free to introduce yourself, ask questions. We'll be more than happy to address those. Today, besides Scott, hi Scott, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
Awesome. Awesome. I see already that we're going to have so much fun tonight, so I'm really excited. Courtney, welcome. We haven't had you for a while, and then you were here with us, and now you're today with us again. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, thank you. It's good to be with you.
Awesome. We have, I'm sure, and big regards and lots of love to Amy, Piera Mario, Peter, Ingersoll, and Stuart, and everyone who's today with us. Please, before we go into the topic of pods, Scott, I wanted to ask you, how are you doing? Last time I think I saw you was like a year ago, so I was just wondering what's happening with you nowadays. What are you up to?
I'm doing well. Things have been going well with pods. I recently started a job with GoDaddy through the Pagely team, so that's really cool. The Pagely team has been pretty fantastic in the WordPress space for a while, and it's pretty exciting to kind of be in a smaller group of people within like a huge company. That's always fun, and everything has gone pretty well with that. I've been working on architecture stuff with PHP in the back end, and it's outside the WordPress space, and it's like I'm working with WordPress, but I'm working on tools that use WordPress, so that's different from my career for sure.
Wow, what an interesting entrance, let me tell you. I'm sure we'll find out a lot more. Courtney, how about you? You've been busy and you're preparing for some trips as well coming in the future, right?
Yeah, so this Thursday coming up, State of the Word is taking place, and I am planning to attend. We're taking a train in from Harrisburg, as long as we don't get the foot of snow that I saw in the forecast. The catch is that I have to be able to get home that same night from Harrisburg back to an hour southwest of that. So we'll see. Maya, just a heads up, we can hear you well, but you're smiling wonderfully, but it's frozen on the screen for us. Sometimes these things happen, of course, right now. So, Amy, thank you for the heads up. I see a Mask Advisory, yeah. And I am 99% sure I'll be going to WordCamp Asia as well. Really, really honored to be able to go and take part in helping make that event happen.
Wow, interesting. Very, very interesting. I'm sure you're going to have lots of fun. So now that we actually understand how we're doing these days and what's happening in our lives and what we plan to do, I wanted to ask you, Scott, you've been with Pods for how long, and how did this, give us a little bit of a brief intro of Pods. How did the Pods come as a solution, and what are you trying to do nowadays with Pods?
Yeah, so Pod started in 2008. Just trying to think to the exact year. It's always tricky. It's between 2007 and 2009, but I'm pretty sure it was 2008, October 2008. And it started out with a person who came from the Drupal land and wanted some types of features that Drupal had. And I found out about it because I was building something at the same time that caused that for the same similar circumstance, and I was like, trash mine, this is great, I'm gonna jump on this bandwagon. And I inundated them with lots of bug fixes and features, and then we collaborated a bunch, and then I became more of a developer on the team more officially, and eventually started leading the project in 2011 2012. It started out really kind of a small project, and then ballooned into a full-fledged every kind of content type you need for WordPress project.
Who's the best? I mean, now that we're talking about the product, let's talk about users as well. Who are the users of Pods framework?
Well, there's so many. That's the part that I really enjoy about the fact that I work on pods this long. It's been since then, 2008. So I've been working with pods, helping out in support forums like where I started, and helping every single person that comes along. We have other people that help on the project to help to do support and stuff like that. There's some paid contributors that get paid to help us, give us some time to help us on support and Slack and stuff like that. But I found there's so many different use cases. I'm always just excited to see kind of the cool things that these people come up with. I found someone that ran a casino site with pods. There's people that have run newspaper sites. There's all sorts of different use cases. And it's really hard to nail down just one. It's really difficult. But if I could just say like one recent one, I would say is there's a lot of people that are just building sites that need new content types. A lot of people just need to add a custom field to a couple places. And some of the really cool places that we see people using pods now is through blocks. The block editors, it's been kind of a tumultuous kind of process to get in use in WordPress, and a lot of people using their classic editor experiences are starting to upgrade again. And I think we're seeing a lot of people realize that there's some really cool block options. And that's one of the powers of pods lately has been, we've got some really cool blocks.
That's really nice. Courtney, I didn't ask you if you have a question, perhaps, for Scott.
So, full transparency here, folks. Scott and I have worked together both here at GoDaddy and at a previous place. But long ago, I started using pods. I want to say 2015, 2016. Probably interacted with Scott before I ever met Scott. I was using it to create lesson plans while I was teaching. And I was trying to do some fun, tricky maneuvers where I would have some content showing on this lesson plan custom post type and others showing to the students publicly and mapping all the things. And so at the time, I think I started off of one using a mishmash of two other plugins to make my custom post types and my fields, and then started coming over to pods and saw the beauty of working with pods, but I couldn't move my data fully from one thing to the other quite how I wanted. I think some of the features that are coming in pods in the near future will continue to help with that. But Scott, very curious to see the demo of what is the latest, the newest with pods, and to hear if there is, compared to where we were in like 2015, 2016, when I was getting started with all of this, I guess what you see coming, what you see exciting that is maybe powered by the block editor these days that would make some of that life easier.
Yeah, so there's so much going on in the WordPress space right now surrounding the block editor. If you've used the block editor right when it came out, you would be surprised at what it is now if you've been kind of wary and staying away. I say right now is where it probably should have been when it was released, because now it's actually like very much usable in a lot of different areas. There's still lots of work to be done in accessibility, and I've found the mobile experience lacking quite a lot, but there's some really exciting stuff happening with blocks, especially block plugins that are using content in them, like embedding content. So one of the areas I've been focused on, how do I embed custom fields in various places within WordPress that have blocks? And there's a bunch of different ways to do it, but not every block plugin is equal. There's lots of block plugins that offer really useful blocks, like an image or a featured image block or a slider or whatever you might want, but only a few block plugins, block libraries offer a feature that I've seen pop up like a wildfire in a bunch of the plugins I've been working with. This is a dynamic content feature, and that's the really excited place for me, is you have this ability within a block to say, actually, instead of putting whatever I want in here manually, why don't you link it up? And so you can link it up to data from another post, data from a list of posts. You can do all sorts of things with that feature. And that is the coolest part, I think, lately, with blocks and WordPress is dynamic content is really going to help unlock a lot more use cases, a lot more really cool options that you can build with.
Wow, this is amazing, seriously. So why don't we jump then to the story? Show us, please, what you have, because I'm already over interested.
Sure. Just as we were talking, my local environment completely stopped working. So I am uploading all my plugins to another local environment. So if you can shoot me one more question while I do that, that'll help me.
Totally fine to do that. So my good stall question that I was going to ask after we were done is that Pods does a lot with fields. And in WordPress, we have seen over the years various efforts on having a fields API. Can you explain maybe what is a fields API in some simple terms? What would be the advantage of it? What kinds of plugins might make use of a fields API besides Pods?
Well,
I threw you one that will get you some time here.
Yeah, Fields API is a fantastic idea for WordPress, and this is why. So, if you never heard of the Fields API before, it's the idea that maybe content, every screen in WordPress has a form input, could potentially have a developer to add fields and add that form in the same exact way across all fields. So whether you're adding to the classic editor or the block editor for inputs and the inspector panel on the right side, if you add fields to the user profile or the settings screen, there's so many different areas in addition to that, like media, and you can go on in different more places from other plugins and their own custom screens. If you had one API that unified them, you would simplify a lot of things. The biggest issue is there's so many different ways that you have to remember to go and add to those places. So I think that's kind of like a blocker for a lot of people, is how do you remember how to work with a settings API? Difficult. You've got to write all your own custom stuff every single time. Then you also have to switch over to classic editor. Well, you got to build a meta box. You've got to add your own inputs. And back when there were days of the widgets, the widget days are kind of a little bit past now, but you used to have to write all your inputs there and all the markup yourself and figure out how to save it and send it back and forth and display it. And those things, like the customizer itself, the old editor before the full site editor was there, the classic customizer experience, you could call it, that has a really nice interface where you can start extending those things. So what if you took something like that and you placed it across all those different areas? Well, we did that just a few years ago. Back in 2018 or so, 2017, there was a group of companies, 10up, Web Dev Studios, a few other ones, plugin offers across the gamut of 20, 30 different plugins for WordPress that did content types and custom fields, stuff like that. All of them got together and we said, hey, we can figure out something that can solve this use case. And it took a lot of effort to get ego kind of in check between some plugin authors, because we all feel our solution's the best. I think that's the challenge. There's so many people who say, yes, I have a better solution to this. I've done it myself. This is how we should do it. And then someone else will come along and say the same thing. So that was the kind of the challenge. And back then, that was right when the block editor was getting going. And that was kind of the biggest stopping point for us on the project. So we kind of stopped it. And then now we're rebooting it. So we're hopeful that we can try to get something back going again. And we're focused, instead of across all the WordPress, so let's just focus on one or two couple of areas. The main area being, let's touch the settings API, the settings screen, because we want to make this more accessible. We want to be able to revitalize that experience and show it as a proof of concept in a way for the other areas across WordPress. As we touch the profiles for user profile editing, those areas need love as well. And all these projects are fed into by the needs of the masses. But this project specifically for Fields API was rebirthed because of accessibility. I was kind of done with the project. I was like, well, I don't feel like I can get this out there, but I talked to the accessibility team and some people over there, and I was like, what? This is bigger than what I feel. I think with the accessibility use case, this could push us over the finish line. So I'm excited about that. We're going to start meeting in January, and we're going to kick this off and hopefully get something going, because I feel there's a big need for it. And once you have, like I've said already before, about the fields registered across everything with a unified experience, now you can expose this with REST API. Now you can build custom apps. Now you can build all these different things and have them already see what your content structure is, or your settings fields, and all the different things that you've already registered. Instead of calling 5 different functions to register your meta values for your post types and stuff like that, now you just have one. You say where it's going to show up, and it shows up. And that would be just fantastic to have in the tool set for WordPress going into this next year and year after.
I hope to see that one come together. That's something that I've heard echoed across multiple projects, multiple plugins, different places, that having more tooling there would be really, really helpful. And it's pretty easy to see why someone that's organizing pods, which is a massive database system, could understand the Fields API project really well. Where can folks that are interested in working on Fields API, or helping even just with testing Fields API, where can they go to find out some more information? And then let's see if your demo is ready.
Yeah, so the place right now, we don't really have a website, but we do have the repo that was just reactivated. I'll post a link to that. It's on my GitHub profile. And there's the place that we're meeting right now is in Slack, in the WordPress Slack. That's Making WordPress. If you go into the WordPress, Making WordPress area, you might find the Slack links. Once you get into the Slack, there's a channel. It is the core-fields channel. Now that channel is where we're going to be communicating everything, what we're doing, and doing the meetings online, and all sorts of planning with accessibility team and cross-team planning and chatter. All that stuff's going to be done there. And that is going to be the one source of truth, because that is, everything will be coordinated from there. And then we'll go into the GitHub repo and start building all the things over there.
Cool.
There was a comment also by Amy in the chat while you were talking, and she commented saying, so we'd be looking at block collections like cadence, generate, place, element, or write. So that was previously when you were explaining the classic editor and other editors, so that was her comment. But Amy, if you would like this question to be answered, can you please rephrase it? So, because I think we didn't see it in time, and then it went.
Oh, I think I got Amy's. We're not going to look at a Black library. I was hoping to show a couple of options if I know my stuff locally. The idea is, let me show you like what this feature even is in context of these type of plugins, because there's a lot of really cool things you can do with this dynamic content feature. And I think that there's a handful of plugins that are using this. Some of the areas in that I've seen recently has been conditional logic. So you can show or hide specific blocks depending on a value from one of these dynamic sources, which is really cool, because with pods, I can do things that lets you say, show this block if this pod has any items that are public right now in this time frame, or what, like you can do all sorts of things like that. You can say only show this block if this field is this value, or is greater than this, if we have things that are on sale, or whatever. You do those sorts of things, and you can out your blocks, and then you can have additional logic in them to be able to prepare them and have them just go live when you've got your content in place. So there's some really cool things like that. Really gets unlocked once you have that. So it looks like I've got my local set up. All right, me. Local is working now.
Isn't that funny, right?
Oh,
It is. It's pretty funny.
it's a technical day on a Monday. Hmm.
It is.
In the meantime, if you have any questions, or if you have any proposals, if there's something you would like to communicate with us, please do so. We would all be happy. We might even ask you some questions, Clark, right? Maybe we have a couple of interesting questions for the audience too.
All right, so this is so funny on timing, because I was like, hey, I've got everything working. Let me downgrade PHP real fast, just so I don't see deprecation notices from some other plugin. And I think that's what triggered the problem. But it looks like I've got my plugins back in place. I'm logged back in.
That PHP compatibility.
Right. Yeah, I just see like lots of. So let's talk about that for a second. PHP and WordPress, we have PHP 8 support, but it's beta. So there's lots of deprecation notices all over the place from within WordPress core itself. There's lots of things from plugins that are working with WordPress that show up as deprecated for some of those notices. It's very interesting that we haven't yet gotten there. And I think that's because we have a lack of contributors in that area. So if you've noticed, a lot of movement has been in block editor, a lot of movement in Gutenberg and stuff. And I think that's kind of pushed off some of the people that were more PHP focused from being like, yeah, I can do stuff here. They felt maybe like there wasn't enough movement, a lot of focus, a lot of inclusion for their skill set. Perhaps that's something that's affected it a little bit, but we've had a really awesome person involved. That's Juliet, and she's been involved with PHP internals and WordPress itself. And I'm very hopeful that we're going to be able to get that under control. Yeah. It looks like that's now a problem as well.
From my Tom indicates that I chose violence, bringing up PHP compatibility. For those that aren't as in the know about some of the PHP things, PHP is the language that's under a lot of WordPress still. It's the thing that takes the values and puts them in the database and pulls them out of the database to display them and all of that. And so lots of the architecture side of WordPress are using PHP to float all of that around. And PHP 7.4 is what WordPress fully supports, but the PHP.net official proper organization no longer does as of a couple weeks ago. And the next version up, they've just released PHP 8.2 very recently, but the next version up, PHP 8, WordPress does not yet completely support. So when you see weird deprecation notices around or plugin compatibility issues, you have multiple layers of things that you have to watch for. And that's partially your web hosting, partially the plugins, partially the version of WordPress, what PHP WordPress itself is using. So it becomes problematic if a dev were to write PHP code that is for 8.2, but your server only supports 7.4 or something like that. So there's some compatibility that needs to happen for WordPress core itself, so that then the third-party ecosystem of plugins and themes and all of that good stuff can also make use of it. So PHP compatibility, juggling the things. All right, I want to see some pods.
All right,
PHP fields, pods. This is Scott.
Share my screen here. Got some stuff going on now. And I've got on this site, I've got every plugin known to man. I've only got a few active. Let me, new computer, who dis? It's asking me to make sure I allow Google Chrome to do this. All right. Window, yes. And this one. How are we feeling about this? Is this working?
Can you hit share screen?
Is it showing up?
Not yet.
Oh, is it now? Okay, it's asking me to restart my browser.
If you just hit refresh, it should
let me refresh.
Yeah, let's see if that works.
All right, 1 second.
In the meantime, you could all take a look at Pods over at pods.io. Pods is a totally free plugin, and we'll talk about some of the business model of Pods. It is free as an open source. And if you take a look at Pod's website, you can see that the bulk of it has been free. And the way that they are doing support for things, they do have to pay devs to build things, people to handle support forum questions and some other stuff. They have a Friends of Pods program over there, and it's a way to contribute to funding Pods itself. How are you doing, Scott?
All right, let's see if it wants to share the screen now. Please share this one screen. Is it the screen? It looks like it's the screen.
Oh,
we're good. You're golden.
But you might want to enlarge it so it becomes bigger on screen.
Oop, that's a little bit.
Zoom out.
No, I mean full screen. If you go full screen.
Oh, I've got it just sharing the window.
It's
Is
okay.
It not
it looks fine on my end. Yep.
Okay.
Here, let me. Is that better? Is that better for you to read?
I'd say I think it's bigger on my screen. I'm not sure how others see it. There are some changes in Berry, so these are all the updates that I'm just now facing.
Pierre Mario says it looks good. Thanks, Pierre Mario.
All right. Sorry for the technical issues. I promise there's going to be some really good stuff I will stick in here. So first thing I want to note is right over here, we are looking for funding for the next version of Pods. It's already in development. We're hoping to get it in beta. There's a bunch of stuff behind the scenes we're working on for conditional logic for fields. But you come to Pods because you want new content types or custom fields, or maybe you just want to interact with your custom fields on your site with our blocks. So there's some really cool stuff you can do there. We'll start out with this add new screen here. And add new lets you quickly add custom fields to any type of content inside of WordPress, but you can also create new ones as well. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and set up a new one. I heard from Courtney earlier that maybe there could be a cool option where we have a GIFs content, create GIFs custom post type, and right away we get some different things within WordPress that it supports, like the title and the text editor, author. Let's go ahead and add that. Let's do a featured image so we can show a picture of a gift, and we can add other things if we wanted to, but I'm going to leave that out and go to fields. And what I'm going to do is add a new custom field. And so for this gift, I'm going to say, what brand was it? And we're going to keep this as just a text. I could create a custom taxonomy if I wanted, but for brevity, I'm going to keep this a little short on that part. And then we're going to just create a really simple one, color. We're not going to offer, you can't see the drop down, can you? There's a list of field types, which is very generous. Let's see if I can get this to show. It does not want to show. All right, so we've got plain text, we've got website, we've got phone, we've got email, we've got password, we have paragraph text, we have what you see is what you get, we have code editor, we have date and time fields, we have number fields, we even have currency fields, we have file, image, and video, we have embeds, we have one of the most popular ones, which we're going to do for this color field, a relationship field. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the relationship type. I'm going to just do a custom simple define list. And again, you can't see these drop downs, but they're beautifully rich. There's lots of options you can choose from relating to what type of objects there are. We've got relationships to other post types and other taxonomies to users, all sorts of different really cool things. But we're going to start out here, colors. So red, green, blue. And in the relationship options, you've got the ability to do a single select or multiple select. And each one has their own options for input types. So you can do like drop downs and stuff like that. If you're interested in more about the different types of fields, you can actually go over here to the docs site for pods at docs.pods.io and go to field types. And this has everything we've got. So this has got really useful breakdown by input type. So like, what does it look like when you're entering information? And we've got lots of different ones here, you can see. And then we also have by data type. So like, what kind of content are you storing? Because you could have different things that kind of overlap on that. You could have a date time field that have a different type of input. Maybe it's just text. You have options that you can do different things in different ways for your use cases, because honestly, there's so many use cases out there, it's hard to really think of everything. So you want to offer these types of things to every developer and every site builder so they have the power in their fingertips without the code. So that was the goal in introducing more of these types of field types. And I'm going to go ahead and I'll do a list view because this is a really cool, nice view. And I'll hit save. I'm going to hit my save my pod itself. And I can see on my left side here, I've got my GIFs. I'm going to go ahead and add a new one. And we're going to call this one LOL Surprise Doll. I'm not sponsored, but my kids would love that to be the case. So let's say we're going to give an LOL Surprise Doll, and cool doll with lots of surprises. So that's my text for my content. Now I've added my custom fields, so those are showing up down here. So I can say what the brand is, and that one, I can't remember. Oh well. And then for color, I can choose whether it's red or green or blue. And this list field you can see here has this X. But when you have relationships related to other objects, you suddenly get the ability to have edit links. You have the ability to view them like little pop-up window. And the ability to edit directly in line is really cool. I'll show that in a little bit. But you can see here, I'm going to go and publish this. And we've got our first gift. Now, if I want to use this gift someplace. Let's say, what if we add a new page? And we're going to call this one Featured Gift from the Giver Exchange. And obviously that's a little long, but who knows? Maybe this will make sense of that. We're going to hit publish real fast just to get that saved. We have the option with lots of page builders to completely customize our experience. Now, I use Beaver Builder, I've used Elementor, I've used Divi, I've used all the different ones. I've gone through almost every major page builder and looked at how everything works. I've found that I really like Beaver Builder from an experience. I also like Elementor in a lot of different ways. So just find whatever works for you. But one really cool part is that with Pods Pro, so if you've never checked that out, it's another feature set that you can go and get, which offers you the ability to integrate with a bunch of page builders. Like I said earlier, conditional blocks, there's a really cool integration for Conditional Blocks Pro. There's block libraries like Generate Blocks and Stackable Blocks that we integrate with dynamic content. So you can see all sorts of stuff here. I'm not going to go through everything, but you can see that you can offer your customers, your people that are using your site, or just for yourself to make things easy. You can have lots of abilities added automatically by pods into these things. So what we're going to do is we're going to launch Beaver Builder here in the page builder itself. We'll come back to Gutenberg in a minute. But right now, you can see all my pages. I've got lots of pages tested on the site. I'm going to go ahead and scroll down here to the pod section. So this is the cool part I am enamored about, because page builders offer you the ability to kind of drag and drop these different modules or elements or blocks or whatever you might want to call it, or widgets in some cases. And with pods is able to integrate with these areas. And we offer every type of thing that pods offers for the block experience within the page builder experience. So this is a really cool area because lots of times you want to say you've got a certain bit of information you want to show, and you sometimes have trouble doing that within the page builder because page builders don't all have the ability to embed content in the way that you want them to. And this is an area where pods is pretty flush in. It's a really cool feature that I'm excited about. I'm going to show just a simple example of this real fast. I need to go and check what my ID was real fast. This is one area where I think we could improve, is having the ability to just select the one you want. This is 2715 for the ID. I'll just do that and hit that, save that. And there's the embedded content. So this is actually embedded. It shows exactly what I want it to show. Maybe it's the title. Maybe I can show a custom field. So let's say brand. Hey, there it is. There's the brand. All right, what about color? Let's add that. Color, there's the color. Let's add post date. Like, when was it published? There's the date. You can do all sorts of things. You can actually customize these things using what we call here the pods templates. And pods templating gives you access to what we call magic tags, which are magic. They do lots of really cool things dynamically. And with this, it's a simple curly bracket start out with that, and you have an @ symbol. Now this tells pods, hey, we're in a magic tag. And then we end it with the ending curly bracket there. So you have lots of field available through the magic tag syntax. You can choose from anything from that object. Like this is the post type. So you've got post title, you've got post name, you've got post date, you've got the post content itself. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm really not focusing on making this extra pretty just to make it so we can get through this. But you can see here, it has the content right there for me. And if I hit done and publish, I can see that everything is here dynamically. And if I want to go and edit this and say, instead of the LOL, maybe it's the OMG. If you know anything about LOLs, you probably know something about OMG dolls as well. So hit update there. And now watch what happens on this page. It's automatically updated because it's dynamic. The dynamic features in these types of page builders with the power of pods, it unlocks tons of potential. And this is a really cool area that I want to show you a little bit more on, because it's not just embedding a single item. You can embed individual field value. You can embed a form to be able to let people add their own. Let's go and do that. Let's add it right here. And we're going to say gift. And you can actually say you can edit one, but I don't want to edit one. We'll just keep this really simple. We're going to say post title, post content, brand, and color. We're just going to start out with those fields, just comma separated or on their own lines. And we'll say button label is submit gift to the exchange. And you can choose what types of output you want. Different themes look different. So you can always do whatever you want there. And then I'm going to publish this. If I can. It might be an issue with the page builder. Sounds like it to me. But so you have the ability to do those sorts of things. I'm going to go ahead and go back into the WordPress area. If my mouse will show up. There it is. And actually just go out of the builder. Now what we're going to do is just going to edit this page, and we're going to use the normal standard editor. So this is the standard editor. It actually has the text from the original page builder experience. And now I can add these blocks manually. So over here, you can see the pod section, the same exact blocks. I've added the ability for a lot of these page builders to automatically see our blocks in pods, and the Pods Pro add-ons that offer their own custom blocks. They see these things and they throw it right into the page builder experience with the same options. So let's go ahead and do this pods form here. All right, now we got the form. Now let's shoot. Okay, this is fun. Go back standard, and I'm gonna update this and refresh. Yeah. Because there's nothing more fun than an LOL surprise doll bringing us surprises for a webinar presentation.
Yeah. There we go.
And, yeah. Block editor is a little sad right now from something. I'm not sure why it's sad. I don't want it to be sad, but it doesn't agree. But so you have the ability to do lots of different things within the block editor. I think I'm probably running a newer version of it, which has got an interesting bug. This could be related to the PHP thing. So yeah, there's some really cool options. There's the field value. There's the form. There's a list of items. There's a single item, which we used earlier. There's also a single item list fields. This is a really cool one because you may just not want to type out all the field names you want. Maybe you just want just to show everything, show all the information that I have about this one individual field. So you can say, yes, show all the custom fields for this item. And it'll list out in the format you choose it to. Div, table, P, whatever you want, list items, maybe a DL tag. You can do all sorts of different options there. It just kind of makes it simple and easy to output all that. There's also the ability to do a pods view. And if you're a developer and you're building all your stuff in PHP, but you want to embed it somewhere within WordPress, sometimes having the option to have a view embed that PHP file within the theme can be really enticing. So that's something there. You can just type in a value of one of the items in your theme. Let's say, I mean, README is going to be really large, but it would embed the README automatically for that. So you could do something like that with your files. It has the WordPress context. It has all the context of all the rest of the stuff going on the page. So it's pretty flexible there. And so I will go back over here to the pod's components. And we have the ability to add advanced content types, which lets you have your own custom tables in WordPress if you want, that are entirely separate from WordPress content types. Sometimes that's useful. Sometimes you have millions of rows of data you want outside of WordPress. You don't want them in posts, because if you have millions of rows of posts and you have 30 fields for each of those posts, you all of a sudden have a post meta table with over 30 million rows in it. And yeah, we're talking about rows, millions of data, whatever. But for anyone who's watching and wondering about what that would do to your site, it would do something which would require you to have lots more money that you spend. Let's just say that, because it's going to take more intensive resources for your site. It's going to take better servers and better all sorts of other things. And sometimes that's actually quicker outside of that context. So as a developer, we offer that ability. We also have advanced relationships, which let you choose from even more relationship options. We have pods pages, which lets you embed things from all sorts of different other areas using a custom URL if you want. And we have our templates that let you save these templates that you're entering in your blocks, your short codes, or wherever else. You can actually save them for reuse. And one of the cool features about that is if you have your templates component enabled, you have the ability to say for a gift post type to automatically output a certain template anytime you have the singular or archive view of those things showing up. So there's lots of power here in pods. There's been some really cool things happening with the block editor, and some of the really awesome parts of pods is all new in the last couple of years here with our groups experience. When you're editing a field, this new experience here, we have the new repeatable fields that you have. That's pretty awesome. There's some just really awesome things that you can do now with pods just recently that has been asked for years, that has been impossible until we rewrote everything in React. So all of our inputs are now React, and it's very powerful stuff. And we're excited to have you come back and embrace pods, if you will, or come to us new.
I was looking over the magic tags when you were saying templates. I thought, oh, I have not yet tried using pods plus FSE or site editor. We're calling it these days. We're working on renaming it to just site editor, and thinking through how I would go about doing that inside of the block editor experience for the site, using the magic tags in the new WordPress templates, using pods templates in the WordPress templates. Yeah. Lots of templates. I could see where that could be really useful as a way to add a lot of additional functionality to even just basic posts. If you have custom meta, like I always think of a common one that I aspire to actually do more of in the next year ahead on my own blog, is kind of a book archive of what I've been reading, what I've learned, my notes, etc. And wouldn't it be fun to break out some of that taxonomy for various purposes? And if I'm going to do that, might as well go edit the post template to display it where I want.
Yes. And part of the cool parts with this template editor, it auto-completes for you. So as you saw earlier, we were just entering some magic tags and trying to remember what was the field name. The template editing experience offers this auto-completion by just selecting this pod reference here on the right side to choose which pod it was for. And you might have seen this dot thing here. This dot thing is next level. So it's a feature that's unique to pods. I don't really know many other plugins that offer this, if any. We originated it. It is called traversal. And it's the biggest, most powerful part of relationships, because now you can display things that are related to the items you've already selected. So like for a post author, we can display their display name or ID, but we can also display any custom fields on that user profile if we've created them. We can display things from other related post types. We can traverse many levels deep. So you can show lots of different things in lots of different more use cases. So that's a really cool thing as well.
I just dropped the link to the knowledge base doc on that exact topic for you in the chat. While I'm looking at the knowledge base and things, one of the things we were talking about with Scott right before we started today's event is folks that are interested in learning more getting involved. This is another opportunity as a contributor to get involved with things. And so there's always a need for people that like to write technical documentation, people to do QA testing, people to create, whether it's text, videos, etc., of those things. So if you have skills and you would like to use it, do so. If you've got development skills, consider. Scott didn't create pods to begin with, but sure has been steering the ship for quite a while there. But there have been a few other devs that have gone through pods and have moved on to work for large scale agencies, have worked on other plugins as well. So it's a good learning opportunity. It is an open source project, much the way that WordPress is an open source project. There isn't a financial company necessarily behind pods. It is an open source project that people can get involved and contribute to.
Yes, totally. Like
find Scott if you want to do that.
I've been really excited. I've been really excited to know that we've worked with some really cool powerhouses in the industry. Even people who have not been in WordPress, like they had an intern, like we had Nikhil start with us back when he was doing some WordPress stuff, and now he's like in Web3 stuff and crypto. But he started out helping us with some doc stuff, which is really cool. We had Josh Pollock, who has gone off to do really awesome things with really cool people. Now he's doing some really cool things with his Awesome Machine, I believe that's the name of it. There's also Jim True, who's working with Gravity Forms. There's some really cool things that we've been able to do with help from everyone. We've tried to kick some money when we could, when we had enough funding to certain people to help them out to get more time. But I'm the only team member who doesn't get paid for the bulk of the work that keeps pods going, which is fine by me. I love it, but I'm hopeful that continuing to grow it and continuing to get donations, we'll be able to do even more, because I work best when I have people to work with. That's my most exciting part when I work with pods, is working with people to help solve their challenges, like people who are using it who run an issue, or people who are developing to help build new solutions and submit PRs. I help them. I help anyone who wants to come in and help with support docs. All those people, when I have them around, I am so much better of a developer, so much better of a productive person. Just having someone else to say, yeah, I think this would be cool too. It can help a lot. And even just saying, hey, I love this plugin, I posted a positive review. Those things matter. Those things count. $5 donation here and there. Those things count. Like, that shows me that someone cares about this, and that we should continue building awesome things. And those things happen every day. And that's something I'm really grateful for.
We have a couple questions to go over coming in from folks. Peter asks, to clarify, do pods, custom post types, and fields work in the site editor, in block and hybrid themes, and the query loop block?
Sure do. Let's see if we can get it to not have that block issue. Here is the site editor right now in the 2023 theme. I think that's what it was. Mm-hmm. And obviously, forget my goobity goop navigation and everything else, but you can see here that we've got, let's actually look at this list view here. So we've got this group here, and we have a query loop. And on this, we have a list of posts. So we know there's a posts section here. Let's go back to the dashboard. Let's quickly add some fields to the post, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And again, so quick and easy. I just click a button in there. I've got fields for my post now.
It's a lot better than when I used to have to make things in PHP to do all of this.
Field. Yeah. I got a custom field here. Save that. Go into a post. Hello world. Hello custom field. That now. All right, so back over here, and I'll get out of it. Okay. The site editor experience is something different. So the query editor, I'm going to go refresh this real fast just so it has all the latest context of what I've done. And go back into this view here. So now we've got the query loop. Let's go ahead and add a, let's say, pods field value, because this is very common. You want to maybe add something here. Let's go ahead and do that. Close that up. And I need to edit this. So let's go cog over here. can't do that. Let's try this. My custom field. All right, cool. It doesn't. I know if I click this, it's going to crash. I don't know why. It's an interesting issue, but let's try.
Are you running Bleeding Edge?
Crashed. I may be doing something naughty. Santa's going to have to talk with me later.
All those GIFs. Let's see. So Scott just jumped into code mode.
So I just jumped into the code editor, and hopefully it'll just let me do this real fast.
So this issue, most people are not experiencing at this moment. We're seeing it on your current dev environment. And do you know in your dev environment what versions of WordPress and or Gutenberg you're running?
I thought I was running just the most recent ones.
Okay.
So I'm not really sure why it's doing that. It's so odd. Maybe it's a build issue. Maybe I need to rebuild some stuff. My scripts locally. I'm running a local version of pods. This is not the one that's released yet. This is in development, and it's possible that some of the build JavaScript needs to be rebuilt. That's working with that area. All right, code editor. I just entered that information. Well, yes. So I can't show it right now in this specific instance, but if you went in there right now and you did it for yourself, you would see that automatically when you just choose from the pod list, it actually has an option to say use current. So if you go to the docs page, you'll see that as well. Code reference and blocks API. Let's see. We've got blocks. There we go. Here we are. So like normally you would see the list of pods, and from this you could either choose the pod directly and enter the item itself, but it defaults to using the current pod and the current item from the context it's in. So within the query loop, it'll say, oh, I'm in the loop with posts. Okay, cool. It's gonna use the post pod. And then it says, okay, I'm in the hello world post. So it's gonna use that post to reference when it's embedding that one individual field. So that's where the power of this comes into play as well. When you're in the site editor experience, it is contextually aware of where you are in your site. So you don't have to actually type in IDs and things all over the place. It can just dynamically catch whatever you're on. If you're on a singular, archive, template, whatever it might be, it'll automatically find that for you and go ahead and do that.
Yep. I dropped in a link. Let's see if I can get it working on my end in the chat area. Yeah, the pods plugin, you can click the link in the chat area to test out. It will spin up a version of WordPress that is, people are pronouncing this WASM, I guess. That's using WebAssembly. That's where the acronyms come in from. But with that, it will add a version of pods. You might have to hit refresh once. Sometimes I had to do that as well. But it will put pods into the environment for you as a WordPress plugin, and you could get in and start testing the things all yourself.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So there you go. It's Adam. I heard about Adam's last name, but Adam works for Automatic and has been working on the WASM setup. So anything that you put, if you look at the actual address bar at the top, it says equal pods. If you were to swap in any other plugin, put code blocks in there or something, it would put the code blocks plugin in. So this gives you just a very temporary disposable sandbox area to go and test your site, which is much fun. So if you wanted to check out and see if local's misbehaving for you or PHP compatibility or something, this will just give you the latest default theme and whatever plugin you append to the end of that address. And so we'll see how that goes. While Scott is testing that for us, did want to draw attention, since I last was with Maya, we were talking about funding open source in different ways. Last time Maya and I were together, we were talking about GitHub sponsorships, and I sort of referenced Scott in the middle of all of that. One of the things that has happened that is really fantastic is that Indeed, the company Indeed that helps people get jobs, Indeed actually decided to fund open source contributors that had GitHub sponsorships open. And so Scott's work through pods and other things stood out. And so, Scott, you said you're receiving, I think, like $25 a month for that. So it's a little bit towards some things.
Yeah.
And there are other ways.
It's really interesting because
I was going to say there are
I was
other
just
ways
saying,
that
it's really interesting because the we did it again. I'll let you go.
Okay. So Pods receives some open source funding, both through the means of, you saw that there is the Friends of Pods area, there is Pods Pro, which is if you're going to build themes, build sites using page builders or other tooling that's common in WordPress, you might need to pay to get those extensions. Pods, the base layer, is free, but the extensions to work with page builders, that takes some actual money to get those extra extensions. So GitHub sponsorships are an option. Friends of Pods is an option. And if you need any extensions, that's a paid service as well. So funding open source is something that is very much near and dear to my heart and Maya's as well. Just wanted to draw awareness of like, it's an open source project and we gotta keep things working and running. And I am excited to see what all Pods can do. So is Pods behaving better with this unusual version of spinning up a fast local WordPress site?
Yeah. Yeah, I got it working. So in your query loop, you just drag around your things, and obviously block editor is its own special experience. Sometimes you have to drag things in manually because maybe you think that you're entering it and putting it into the right place, when in reality you're actually entering it like I did outside of the post template, which is where it gets the context for which post it is. So that was the issue probably earlier about on the editor itself. But you can see here, I've got the post field value. I've got the field name here. I could actually output whatever I want. I could use different fields, post title, whatever. Like you can use the normal ones here like this. That's great. But when it gets to things like the custom fields, you can easily use these, and it supports traversal. So if this had a relationship field in here, I could say my related post dot color, and it would show me that color off that related post if that was a field. So that's pretty useful in a lot of different ways.
The traversal reminds me of concatenation a bit. Yep.
Yeah.
Some code things. Good. Any
Awesome
other questions, folks?
I really enjoyed. I don't know. I'm sure even our visitors tonight and guests, I think you all enjoyed. I learned a lot, I must say, and I feel more, what do you call it? Like more secure to temper around dynamic content. That's one of the things that I have issues with because I don't trust automations, and I still have to check whether it happened. But it's really like it's very easy. If anyone has any comments or questions for Scott, now it would be the time. Next time we see him, probably it will be a contribution thing, joint contribution thing, and he'll be showing us around. Let's see, really informative from Stuart. Peter Ingersoll, I build for clients and I'm interested in an excellent CPT editor experience. Does the content area use the block editor? How about the other fields? Do we have control over meta boxes?
Yeah. So when you're editing the fields, you're actually inside of a group, and this is going to be from the post context is going to be a meta box. So when you edit this group itself, you're going to see it up here. You just click the edit link, and you can go here and choose where it shows. Is it going to be in the side, advanced, normal, what priority, whatever. And you can also choose visibility, which is pretty unique. That's pretty cool. And we're just going to save that. I've already created this field here in this new post type. I just created it over here again. This one's in Classic Editor. Well, it's supposed to be in Classic Editor. Let's go back over here. I was going to try to show it. I don't have the ability to add Classic Editor on this box. There we go. So just a custom gift. And you have the normal editor here, normal text here. And you also have the ability, like you had mentioned, you can have what you see is what you get fields alongside of other things. So this is right now in the classic editor, but it could show also in the block editor. And you have the ability to choose from the normal tiny MCE editor. You also have Quill, which is a really cool option that's more React based, which you don't have to worry about the technology side of it, but it's just kind of like this. It offers you what you see is what you can get experience, but perhaps more refined, and confined. Refined and confined. It's less options, but simple, simple to use, and it's pretty easy to use. So you have your groups, your meta boxes the same way, and you can move them around as you need. And when you come back and refresh, no, I just may have refreshed. Yeah, I blew it up. I think I blew up my screen. Yeah, I lost everything. It's all right. It's all right. That you can try not to use this specific one when you're building a site. This is just to really test around and see things. But if you hit refresh on this specific URL, it's going to generate a brand new instance, which is maybe not always the case you want when you're showing something and you're refreshing the page.
Let me conclude. Maybe we learned about pods, but we also learned a lot about how to crash your website. So that was very...
Yeah, I've trashed my local, and it wasn't even pods. Pods didn't even do it. It was PHP and my system and everything else.
I have pretty much moved to, if I'm doing a quick look at something, I like this new tool that just came out. I saw Adam shared the links last week about this on Twitter. But also I have become a big fan of InstaWP, and I use it for a lot of our testing here at GoDaddy as well. So both of those. Yes, Scott, your comparison chart is really, really, really helpful. It's something I've referred back to over the years many a time, looking at the tooling for various custom post types, custom fields, all of that, to see what I can do with various tools.
Yeah, this right here is, if you're going to leave this with any information, if you don't even care about pods and you're like, well, what about the other options? This right here is going to tell you a lot of information that you were wanting to know, because this is so hard to find. Like, you have to go to every plugin, you have to find, okay, where's everything? There's a lot of options. There's tons. Like, look, I'm just scrolling through here and there's a bunch. There's a bunch of just WordPress.org ones. There's a bunch of premium only ones that are just, you had to buy to get it. There's options that have WordPress.org versions and a pro version you can buy. There's ones with add-ons. There's all sorts of different things that they have structured. And all this is outlined right here. It tells you how much things are. It tells you what kind of plugins they are. It tells you what features they have. This has taken quite a lot of time to put together. And as you see here, a lot of developer confirmations from people involved. So we've had developers say, yeah, is this right? Is it accurate? Yes. And this kind of helps explain a lot of things if you're just getting into things. Or like Peter, yeah, this comparison is great because you have that ability to get this information in a way. For me, this makes the most sense. If I were looking at this information in any other way, someone did a video about it, sure, that okay. Someone did an article about it, okay. This is gold, because this is how I consume my information. I have spreadsheets like this everywhere for all sorts of things, but this is my most favorite one because this offers that ability, and it's not lopsided against pods. Like, I built it with Matt Gibbs, who also built pods. He's the founding developer, but this is not a pods spreadsheet. This is a spreadsheet for the community, for everyone to enjoy and use. So I hope you all do enjoy it and find it helpful.
Thank you so much.
And James is also asking if how many are no longer in development regarding this.
So I update this almost quarterly. It's last updated in August. Everything up to August was up to date. Some of these plugins have gone from WordPress.org to only coming off the repo. Some plugins have dropped off, and you can see the far edge here. This line here dictates what's been closed, what was no longer maintained. Ones have been discontinued and things like that that used to be in the list that are no longer part of the list because of that. So this also is automated. Some of this stuff is automated. So it comes from WordPress.org. It tells you last date it was updated. It gives you a red if something is looking a little bit old, like custom field template is right there on the cusp of, is it going to be maintained? It hasn't been maintained in years, so you never know with some plugins. And this helps us identify those things and get them moved over if they need to be. So it depends on the project. But for the most part, we've got all the caveats listed here, like this one here. No additional support is offered for custom field suite, but it is maintained. The updates are being pushed out at least somewhat often. It's not every month, but I try to spend that time and do the legwork for you.
This is unbelievable. Seriously.
This is also why Fields API became such a big priority for me. I built this when I was going through Fields API. I was like, what? There's so many options out here. Why don't we just band together and make an API for each other to use?
Incredible. It's so much great work, honestly. And I don't know when you sleep. You even have a family and you work and you're committed to this and you're also doing the research. I mean, how do you do it? Maybe that's the best question of the night.
Bite by bite. That's how you eat an elephant, a PHP elephant, if you're so inclined. And I think it's just a matter of finding the passion. Really, you can't do the things like this if you're not passionate about. Like building a spreadsheet like this. I can assure you, there's spreadsheets out there or sites that have compared things before, but no one's got the passion. No one has the skin in the game to say, I care about this. I care about this because I think this is important for people to know. I don't always suggest pods. When people come to pod support and they say, hey, can pods do this? I say, no, actually, there's another plugin that would probably better suit you. Our team, the support team, hey, if there is a better solution, let's recommend it, because we don't need them to use pods. We want them to use pods if it helps them, but we don't need them to use pods. We want them to be better developers, be better site builders. That's our priority. So I think that's what sets us apart in a lot of ways for pods. But I think that's something I pushed out into the project is let's make it about the people and not about us.
Oh, such a wonderful way how to close the show. Courtney, Scott, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Everyone, thank you for staying until the end of the show. And Tom is just not saying that he can 100% verify that Scott walks this talk and generously takes time to educate folks. And this is another way how we want to also educate people and promote the goodness in other people as well, like you, Tom, and James and Peter. So it was really a tons of great fun and time. And thank you. I thought I was, Scott, I thought I was the worst one when it comes to crashing a site in a day, but you just won today.
2 sites. I crashed 2 sites. I did it.
Yes. All right.
They weren't live. They're local sites, but I crashed them.
Exactly. So, guys, if you would like to know more about pods, if you'd like to give a hand, if you'd like to learn new things, if you'd like to see what you can do for yourself and for others and how you can use pods, please do so. There will be tons of links below this video later on when it's published on YouTube, and surely lots of great and interesting material as well. Until next year, now that Christmas is coming and New Year is coming, and our next show is going to be in January, I wish you all the best. First of all, I wish you health, prosperity, and all the good wishes, whatever you guys like. Just make a wish, and I hope it comes. And it really comes true. Courtney, all the best. Scott, everyone. I see you then in 2023, right?
Can I leave one more thing there too?
Oh, yes, sure.
In this climate, in this world, there's lots of stuff happening. If you have 2 pennies or 5 pennies or whatever, consider paying it forward. So if someone helps you with something, help someone else, even if it's just a little. I mean, do the bare minimum that you can possibly do, because that's better than nothing. Like if you're so inclined to like, no, I don't have time for that, do a little bit. So pay it forward as much as you can in this world, because everyone could use that extra help.
Wow.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.